Hey guys, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, depends on where you are in the country. Welcome to Real Talk Houston, and I am Carlotta B. This is season 4. We're at episode number 12. And tonight we delve into an issue that thrives in darkness but demands our attention. Guys, we're talking about human and sex trafficking. This global crisis affects millions, sparing no country, no community or individual from its reach. Our mission is not just to inform, but to ignite action. Okay, we need action, and we want to turn empathy into empowerment. So, through powerful expert insights and actionable solutions, we aim to unravel this complex web of trafficking challenges and stigmas that surround our victims. So today, we're going to go ahead and talk to an advocate that is going to talk for the voiceless. And we want to welcome you guys again to Real Talk Houston. This journey towards ending human and sex trafficking starts now.
Yes.
Now. Our sponsor for today's show is Evelyn's Place. It's actually a supported, independent living program that fosters youth that are aging out of care. So, Evelyn's Place, you guys, we want to make sure everyone is safe when they leave foster care. So, welcome Tanya Eagleton, who is our expert youth advocate. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us today. This is a very, very, very important topic.
Yes, it is.
It is plaguing our community, not just Houston, unfortunately.
Right.
But I know Houston has some really, really high numbers for human and sex trafficking.
It really does.
And we're going to talk about why. So my first question for you is, and then after we answer this one question, I want to talk about why Houston, why the numbers so high in Houston. But my first question for you is, can you explain the most common misconceptions about human and sex trafficking?
Well, to me, one of the most misconceptions to me about human and sex trafficking is the sex.
Okay.
The gender.
Okay.
We look at it as if, because you're a female, you're caught up into sex trafficking.
Mm-hmm.
But the way the world is today, the focus to me is more of our males. Our young males, you have a high number of young males that are more prone to sex traffic than the female.
Oh my God. That's definitely
so I
a
would say
misconception.
to me, that's
I personally was thinking in my mind that, before I did my research, that it was mainly girls. No. But you're saying
our males are at risk as well. I would say at an even higher risk than the females.
Oh my gosh. And why do you think, why is that? Why is it that males are more sought after than girls?
Our focus is on females, and that's how you look at it. When you think about sex, you think about sex trafficking, you think about a female.
Girls.
We think about girls. We think about girls. And the way the world is today, I mean, it's pretty much anything goes.
Ooh,
yes. With some people, it's sad, but it's just pretty much anything goes. And our males are just as much targeted as our females.
Oh my gosh, that is actually shocking. Yeah. That's shocking. So now we're going to circle back and talk about Houston, because I know it's really, really hot and prevalent, and we have some high numbers in Houston. So what is it about Houston that is so attractive?
Well, the main attraction to me, I would say, about Houston would be because we are a large city. And we are a city that's on the water, on the port. We have the Port of Houston. We have 2 airports. We have a huge population of migrants, people moving here.
Yeah.
And the ports is just so easy. It's easier to be by a port to transport them in and out. It's easier to be by airport to get them in and out. So that's why I would say Houston. We have the I-10. We have the US 59. I-10 is like connection to the ship channel, to the Port of Houston. You have 59 is the connection to your airport. Yeah. You have a connection to your airport. So I would say because of the transportation out of here.
It's easy to get them here.
It's easy to get
them. The major highways, the airports, the actual ship channel, the port itself.
Yes. And I-10 takes you pretty
A
much
long,
one end. Yeah, it takes
long
you
way.
pretty much one end of America to the other end, pretty
Yeah,
much to me.
yeah,
So,
it
and it's
does.
a very popular interstate. So,
Oh my gosh. And what about Runaways? I think a lot of people think Houston is the best place to come, the melting pot. Everything's in Houston. Anything goes in Houston.
yeah,
Do we have a lot of runaway traffic?
we have a lot of runaway traffic in the city of Houston, and the surrounding areas. We have a lot of
Mm,
kids aging out of the foster care system. You
mm,
know, that are in set up in CPS foster care. You have a lot of kids like that, and it's whenever they age out, you turn 18, you
mhm.
out. You know, the day you turn 18, you out there on the street. So these kids really have nowhere to go. And then you have a
Mm.
lot of runaways. You know, you're running away from home. You don't have the resources that you need because you're young
Right,
and you're not
right,
experienced and you really don't know what's going on. So you out there in this huge world,
right.
you know, and
Vulnerable.
vulnerable, very, very vulnerable. So um
God.
I would say runaways are really a number one target too, because you're running away from your parents. Here
Mhm,
somebody approach
mhm.
you, hey, you don't have to live like this. You don't have to do this for this. I'll buy you a purse. I'll fix your hair up. You know, it's just the little bitty things that we
Right.
take for granted. You know, like oh, who can lure a kid in with a purse, or who can lure a kid in with a set of nails, or a weave, or just a nice outfit. You know,
Mhm,
and some of these
mhm.
young girls, that's all they want, and some of them never had it. So
Exactly.
to be approached with an offer like that, you're gonna jump on it,
Yeah.
especially if you're vulnerable and you don't really know what you're doing. You're gonna jump on it.
Right,
So
right.
they target the runaways. They
That's
target the
sad.
runaways. They
That's
target
sad.
the young kids that are aging out of the system.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because to them, like you said before, you said some key words that to us, we can go buy a purse or
Oh
we can
yeah.
go to the nail shop.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, well, younger people,
Younger
they
people.
can't.
Yeah.
They can't. So to
Yeah.
them, yeah, that's
Yeah.
very attractive.
Yeah.
That's very attractive to
And you're in
them.
their socioeconomic background. You know,
Yeah.
from from poor neighborhoods. You
Yeah.
know, where
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
in a
Yeah.
single parent home, or not even just a single parent home, a home where you're being raised by your grandparents, and it's a struggle.
Mm,
It's really hard for them. And you
mm,
know, you can go out. People can give you things that they can't afford to give you. They
exactly.
can lure you by things that you cannot afford,
Yeah.
or that your parents or your guardian cannot afford to
can't
give you.
can't
Yeah,
afford to give you. And
right.
in today's world, even if they are living with their grandparents or living with a single parent, or they could be living with two parents and they
Exactly.
still can't afford to get what they
That's
want.
true.
But in today's world, when they're going to school, they could be ridiculed for not having, nicer
Right.
things.
Exactly.
So, a lot of times it just we have to keep our children close. We have to
Keep them
know
close.
we have to know what's going on with
That is so
them.
true.
Yeah,
And
we
and
have to
that is
know.
so very important when you said we have to keep our children close. You know, even like you were saying, like a parent with the mother and the father there, a hardworking home, you know, hardworking mother and
Mhm.
father.
Mhm.
You know, kid
Mhm.
has a lot of spare time. Social media,
Social
you
media
know, that
is
social
another
media
problem.
is a very huge problem.
Yeah.
Um, and it's just when you have that close relationship, that close bond with your kid, with your children, they're more eager to let you know what they're going through. They're more eager to
Right.
talk to you, and then you can open up to them and,
Yeah.
and just let them know. And a lot of times they think parents are perfect.
Right.
You know, my
Right.
parents work hard. They have this, they have that. They're
Yeah.
perfect, but we're
Yeah.
not perfect.
No, we're not
And
perfect.
those are the things we should not hide from our kids. We should let our kids know that what we've been through.
Yeah. And there
You
is
know,
no perfect
there's
person,
no perfect
period.
person.
No
Period.
perfect man, woman, or child.
Right. Correct.
And it's also important for us to be able to read our kids too. We should
Exactly.
be able to kind of know if something is wrong and try to pull that out. Because a lot of parents, they said, I had no idea. And I
Right.
see my child every day. I had
Right.
no idea she was, into drugs, or no idea
Exactly.
she was skipping school, or,
Right.
it's a lot of things. So we as parents and grandparents and and it's still I still believe it takes a village.
It does.
Aunties, uncles,
Yes.
we need to make sure, especially in today's times, that
Right.
we're paying attention to what's happening
Exactly.
with our
Exactly.
youth,
Exactly.
males and
Males and
females.
females.
Yes.
Males and females.
What are some signs that you've seen that someone might be a victim of trafficking, and how can ordinary citizens, the masses, help to identify them? How can we have a trained eye and help?
Um, Having a trained eye and help. Number one, building when you build a relationship with a kid,
Mm-hmm.
whenever they begin to change or start to change, you begin to notice.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
And a lot of times too, they're embarrassed to really tell you what's going on. They're afraid to tell you what's going on. You bruises
Okay.
because they've been abused. They're being forced against their own free will to do things that they're not used to doing, that they're not accustomed to doing. When they're lured in, things are easy, but then when you become that hot commodity, then you suffer the abuse.
Yeah.
A change in their behavior.
Okay.
Change in behavior, not wanting to talk, wanting to seclude themselves from family and friends, just isolating themselves, shutting themselves down away from the people that they love and truly care about them, because they don't want to ask these questions. They don't want you to ask them anything because they're embarrassed.
Yeah.
They're very embarrassed.
Yeah.
So those would be
being withdrawn and change in behavior, just
behavior.
quiet.
Right.
Something's wrong. Something's wrong.
Exactly.
Wow. How do traffickers, and you kind of mentioned already that they entice them with things that they think they want, but as far as the traffickers that are coercing or recruiting, if you will, their victims, is it mainly, have you seen it a lot at schools, at the young schools? Is it at the gas stations? I mean, what are the main places where these traffickers try to get their prey, their victims?
Basically, anywhere that you have a lot of young kids hanging out, or where they know that these kids normally come or be, or where they're normally there. Gas corner stores, corner gas stations, nail salons.
What type of kids do they look for at the corner stores? I mean, how can they?
Vulnerable kids. Vulnerable kids. I mean, they're not gonna just come off the street and say, "Hey, I get that kid right there." 9 times out of 10, they've been watching those kids. So they know their daily routine.
Okay.
They know what they're normally up to. You come in the store, they know who can afford a bag of chips.
Right.
They know who can afford certain things, and then they just see these kids, and they prey on them they prey on those kids like that.
They study them, and they just kind of
And business owners, big business owners. I mean, it's a easy way for them to prey on these kids and send people out there to do stuff. And I want to say probably like in 2017, when I first began to be more aware and a little bit more knowledge of what sex trafficking and human trafficking was. Back then, in like 2017, it was a multi-billion-dollar industry then. So just you can only imagine what it's like now. You can only imagine what it's like now.
Yeah.
Just getting rich off of innocent, naive.
Yeah. Innocent children.
Innocent children. Because they don't want the old women. You know what I'm saying? It's not the older women. And I mean, not just so much so the older women. It's not the men. It's these young kids that they prey on that they want, so they can groom them. Because they know that they don't know better. They're vulnerable. They know that these kids don't know better. Right. So they're playing mind games with these kids.
They can tell them whatever they want to tell them.
Tell them exactly. They're controlling
and get them to do whatever they want them to do. In most cases.
In most cases.
Oh my goodness, this is terrible.
Yeah.
In your experience, what are the most effective strategies for preventing human and sex trafficking within these vulnerable communities? How can we help prevent this from happening in the vulnerable communities?
I would say community policing, would play a very good part. Like the smaller communities, your smaller areas where you have community policing, your schools where you have school resource officers in the school that knows the kids that are in the community.
Okay.
They become more aware of what's going on in the community. Civic leagues,
okay,
local chamber of commerce. Just being involved in these things where they still value and care about the community.
Yeah.
Because whenever a person come into your community, if they know when they come into your community, they're gonna always see police officers patrolling. Kids, wherever kids are on the playground, you're gonna see that police officer visible. When they start seeing things like that, they're more than likely they're not gonna come into that community and try to take control and take over.
Because it's risky for them to do that because of the policing that exists.
Yes, and I'm not gonna say it's not everywhere, because it's everywhere, but your main target are those low socioeconomic communities, those communities where there may be a lot of poverty, or they may, it's hardworking single parents, really not there like they want to be for their children. And I think as a community, we bring more awareness in the things that we put out into what we put into our community.
Right.
When we
Right.
see more activities and after school events and things that's focused and geared around children,
Right.
More
Right.
things around children like that, they're too much. They're not gonna too much.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
They're not attracted to
They're
those
not
type
attracted to those
areas.
type of areas. No.
What about, you've heard all the Amber Alerts recently? I don't know if you're connected to the Amber Alerts, but they're just coming through
Oh, yeah,
almost back to back, almost
Mhm.
every day.
Yes.
I'm seeing Amber Alerts for
Right.
these. The ones that I've seen recently were for girls, but 11-year-old, 13-year-old, 12-year-old, Houston, Spring, Galveston. I think
Galveston, yeah.
one came through,
Oh yeah.
and it's like, what
Yeah.
is going on? Is there why do you think there's a spike? Is it because the population is increasing, and I mean,
Houston
what?
is a fast growing city.
Yeah.
It's a fast growing city.
Mhm.
And a lot you used to know who your neighbor was next door,
You still being the
but you don't
keywords.
know who your neighbor is.
No,
You don't know who
ma'am.
your neighbors are anymore.
Correct.
And people just moving in and moving out and very
Mhm.
suspicious.
Yes.
So I
I've
just think we
noticed.
have to bring a community awareness by being more alert of our
Mhm.
surroundings. Always notice your surroundings.
Yes.
Always notice your
Very
surroundings.
important.
Yes, and if you have young kids, you always make your kids aware. No
Mhm.
matter where you are, know your surroundings. Look
Mhm.
around you before you get out the car. Look around you before
Yes.
you open a door.
Yes.
Just be aware.
Yes.
Because they're targeting our kids.
They are.
They are targeting our kids. I remember some years back you used to say, "Oh no, not my kids, not my community."
Right. That'll
But
never happen
that's
to
not. It's not like
us.
that anymore.
Yeah, and now it's happening,
Yeah, it's
to
not like
people that you know, and it's getting, that circle is getting
closer
closer
and
and
closer.
closer. It's
Right.
not people across town or in
Right.
another city or in another country or in another
Exactly.
state.
Yeah.
It's really close by,
Yeah.
especially for Houstonians, you guys. I mean, uh, as Miss Eagleton stated, we really need to be conscious and aware of our surroundings at all
At all
times.
times.
And I know we're talking about human and sex trafficking, but, and I have to mention at this point, even for grown-ups,
Oh yeah.
grown men and women at the gas station
Exactly.
attempting to put a couple of dollars of gas in your car, getting attacked, shot,
Exactly.
killed, people taking your car, your kids are inside the car,
Right.
the bashing in windows. There's just so much going on.
Exactly.
So again, to her point, we really need to be vigilant and be cautious, aware, and extremely careful.
Exactly.
And I'm sorry that times are, getting bad, but what is it? Speaking of times getting bad, is it things are getting harder for
I think it's
people?
the economy.
What's with the
It's the economy, I would say. I mean, we blame everything on the economy.
we do.
We blame everything on the economy, but if people had the means and the resources that they really need, I think it'll stop a lot of the violence, a lot of
violent
the
crime
challenges
and
and things that we face.
yeah.
Um, and
It's
I mean,
sad.
if I could just say to any parent or anybody that's raising young children, just like you keep your purse and your wallet close by you, keep that child close by
Keep
you.
your children
When you're in the
close
grocery
by.
store, keep your child close by you.
Yes.
When your kids outdoors playing, always pay attention to the cars that pass by your house. Always pay attention to those things.
Yes.
Because these are the little things that we are not mindful of. And we just let these things go unattended, unaware.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we really, really have to be careful. I mean, my motto thing is too, my grandbaby, she's 9 years old. Keep her close by me.
Yes.
Watch and monitor what your kids do on social media.
Yeah. That leads into my next question. Social media. There's these apps out there that are geared towards young children, trying to reel them in under the assumption that it is a child app, but it winds up being something else to capture their attention as well.
Exactly.
So how do parents prevent that? There's types of parental controls, but parents have to be vigilant enough. Again, that word vigilant, you have to be vigilant enough to when you buy these children these devices, because a lot of kids as young as 3, 4, they can operate phones better than we
right,
can.
Exactly. You're
so
right about that.
And parents don't really think, when they first buy these devices, that you have to, the first thing we should be doing is parental controls.
Parental controls, exactly. Have alerts on those phones. Whenever the kid go on a certain site, it alerts you. You have to give permission to go on these sites.
Right.
Because some kids, they're just smart. They are just, we live in a computer savvy world, technical savvy world. These kids know more about technology than we know. They're teaching us stuff.
Yes.
And it's to the point to where you ask them to show you something, show you how to do it. They don't want to show you how to do it. They want to take the phone or the computer and do it for you.
And just do it.
They just want to do it for you. But I think we should, I just don't feel like a 5-year-old should have access to a computer. If it's not just education. Right. Take those phones from those kids at a certain time of the night.
Right.
Because
they'll be up all night long. Looking at God knows what.
God knows what.
On those phones.
So, we have to be more accountable as parents when we give these devices to our kids.
Exactly.
And we should be held accountable for it.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of this, like things happening with kids that's getting caught up into sex trafficking, or they get caught up into things like this, and it's a link to that social media, the parents should be charged with all of that. Because number one, if no kids should be on social media 12, 1 o'clock at night.
Exactly. Exactly.
Shut those phones down.
Yeah,
take them
it's
up.
too much.
Yeah,
it's too much for them to see.
It's too much.
It's too much for them to see.
It's just too much.
And I totally agree with you on that. What legal frameworks support the fight against human and sex trafficking? And if there are any legal frameworks in place, such as, law enforcement or other organizations or facilities that's helping to fight, against human and sex trafficking, what's out there legal wise? And in your opinion, are they falling short in any areas? Like, what else can they be doing?
It's so sex trafficking right now is just such a large. It's a beast. I mean, it's almost like when the AIDS pandemic came about. You researching, you're trying to do everything that you can find or research that's going to help this, that's going to cure this, that's going to solve this.
Yeah.
It's just really and truly, I just believe it takes communities working together. And I feel like if every community within itself, within the city, outskirts of the city, if everybody take responsibility for their own action, what's going on in their communities, and if we all work together and collaborate, I think that we can, try to kind of make a dent into what's really going on. And I'm really big, like with the community policing. I feel that our kids should not be afraid of the police officers.
Right.
They shouldn't be afraid of them. And by all means, the police officers should make the kids afraid of them. You know what I'm saying? They shouldn't. It should be where you could see a police officer and go to them and stop them and say, hey, or a police officer can tell you to do something. I know back in the days in my community where I grew up, we knew the police officers that patrolled through there.
Yeah.
We knew them. They can come up to you and say, hey, I'm going to tell your mama.
Right.
Or you such and such kid or whatever. But nowadays, you just really don't know what to do. But I believe that if we just take responsibility for our own actions.
Yeah.
And if we do what we're supposed to do, or we know the right things to do.
Yeah.
And if we can just all work together and be that village again, because it does take a village to raise a child. It does. And if we can just get back to that old saying, it takes a village to raise a child, then the community will be a better place to live. The things that enter in and out of our communities, it'll be different.
Right.
Because your neighbor used to see an old car pass through and say, oh, while you was gone, this red car pulled up on your driveway. Now you don't even know your neighbors well enough to even say things about that. And even if they did see something, people so afraid nowadays, they're not going to say anything.
Exactly.
Because it's not really the parent. It's the children. You can't tell my mama not going to listen to you. I work at a school with kids. And, you get, hey, I'm going to know. I don't want to tell you. My mama not going to believe you.
Not going to do anything anyway.
Yeah.
Right. What are there any legal entities though that is specific for human sex and trafficking prevention? Is there any organizations at all specifically to help prevent this, or they're out there fighting this?
Well, I know they have like a hotline or a website that you can go to address any of these.
And that's
issues. Okay. I have it written down. I can't remember, but I know one of them I think is Be Free, and it's a number that you text. And if you have any questions or concerns about sex trafficking or anything like that, you text to that number, and it'll give you information on that. And it's also, I have the website written down. I don't know by heart because I have so many things going up in my head.
Right, right,
But I mean, I
right.
could pull it up out of my notes. But yeah, you could
Okay.
do that. And
Okay. Is there a place that actual kids that are being trafficked, do they
they
how
they have facilities where they take kids in out of sex trafficking and they house them. But a lot of these uh, facilities, they you don't want to announce the names,
Yeah, yeah, you can't
because
do
you are keeping
that.
these kids in hiding and stuff. But there
Right.
are facilities, and a
Mhm.
lot of kids that's caught up in this sex traffic are 9 times out of 10 from foster care, CPS,
Mm.
or runaways.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but and to protect these kids, you have to just keep it on them. But there are places for
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 them.
that. But when you reach out to the hotlines and stuff like that, they'll give you resources and information like that. But there are places for kids because
Okay.
I worked at a facility back in 2019
Uh-huh.
where we were trained literally to know the difference between sex trafficking, prostitution, and stuff like that. So
Okay.
a lot of the things that I've learned or that I do know right now was based on what I was trained to
Mhm.
do back then or the things that I learned
Right.
back then.
Right, right.
Um, but ever since I was like a teenager, probably like in 6th or 7th grade, I've always been involved in like community involvement.
Mhm. Mhm.
Because my
That's
mom and dad
good.
used to always tell me, if you want where you live to be a better place, then you need to be a part of it.
Of course. You have to do your
Right.
part.
So
Yeah.
I've always, I've served like on the junior civic league in my community. And then when I got older, went off to
Mhm.
college, came back,
Mhm.
had my kids, I got back involved with the civic league.
Yeah, yeah.
I served on the school board for 14 years with kids. So everything that I've basically been doing throughout my 57 years of life, where I
Yeah.
was old enough to do it from a teenager, has
Yeah.
been geared around kids,
Uh-huh. That's
advocating for
good.
kids.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, but it's just something about that kid
Mhm.
that sits off by themselves, nobody want to deal with.
Yeah.
That's where
Yeah.
my heart is, you
Yes.
know.
Yes.
And a lot
I
of
I have a
times
soft
when
spot
you,
for kids too.
yeah, when
Yeah.
you build that relationship with kids like that, even if those kids are going through something like that, when they know that they can trust you, they'll tell
Right.
you everything.
Right. Right.
But you have to know how to build. It's building that
Building.
trust-based relationship.
Yes,
It's
yes,
building
building
that.
that relationship.
Hmm.
What about young people that are out there and if they want to get help, is there like a way that they can reach out? Like is there a hotline number for them?
Hmm.
Do you would you happen to know what that is?
I have. Let me. I'm gonna take in my notes. I'm gonna cheat.
Okay, you can look, you
I'm
can
gonna take
look
a look at my notes.
because if anybody is out
They have
there,
help at human trafficking hotline.org,
okay,
or you could
okay.
text Be Free Help to 233-733.
So it is be
It-
free.
It's
Okay.
Be Free, and then a number that you could call for help at human trafficking. Hotline number is 1-800
Mhm.
373
Okay.
7888.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that's important for them to know. Also, if anybody's
Right.
even out there looking, they may not even know. Like, I don't. Who
Right.
do I call? Do
Yeah.
I call 911?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
who do I call? So, and that's another thing that we need to make sure we have these resources that are
Right.
readily available for them
Right.
too, and not just them only getting help just
Right.
because there was a sting or a bust. It's
Exactly.
like, how do
Exactly.
we make the numbers larger of people that are being rescued
Rescued
and
and
not
those
just
that are being
waiting
captured.
for it to
Right.
happen.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, I mean that's critically important. It has to
Mhm.
be, an easy way. It has to be an easy way for them to try to
Mhm.
get help instead of having to, take the
Right.
hard route.
Yeah.
As far as schools and educational institutions, how can they be more involved in raising awareness and preventing trafficking among children and teenagers? Like, are there any programs in the schools that talk about this?
Now, I would say that this is something I think that's missing in school.
Uh huh. Yes, ma'am.
I think this is very, very overlooked in school.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it does need to,
It need to be
it needs to
addressed.
be addressed. It really needs to be addressed because you'll be surprised. You may have kids in your schools right now that's caught up in something like that,
Right.
and they're embarrassed, they're afraid, and then these kids, they put on these macho attitudes like they're brave and they're bad, but they're dying on the inside because of the things that they're going through. the embarrassment of being able to open up and even share with someone what they're going through. I believe that this does need to be advocated in school.
Right. And currently, I have not heard of any programs in any schools
No.
that
Yep.
talk about awareness and prevention.
Because people still looking at it like, no, not in my school, not in my community.
Right.
But
And
it's in your schools. It's in your community.
look at the large amount of kids that are at the schools. And as soon as they walk out of those doors, they're just open. They're open.
You'd be surprised. I mean, this just based on what I've learned. It's not basically something that I've seen, but it's always in the back of my head because I deal with kids a lot.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised of the kids, the teenagers that are in your school that are recruiting for these big time.
Oh my.
That are recruiting for these big
That's
timers.
shocking. Yeah.
Because I mean, you know, like I said a few years back, I worked at a facility and we had inside recruiters. And the inside recruiters were the kids. Hey, if you come on run with me, you can get this Gucci purse.
Oh
or,
my
you know, you can go get this hair you've been begging for, you know, and then they'll run away and you never find these kids again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they were recruited by someone they probably looked at as a friend or a peer.
Exactly.
Wow. That's yeah. It goes back to maybe what they're learning at home. Let's make sure the kids are not vulnerable.
That's right.
As a parents, back to accountability. We need to make sure they're not vulnerable. Make sure they are aware. Make sure they are educated on what's happening out there. I know when I was raising my two boys, if anything came on the news that I thought would relatively impact them, I made them come sit here, come watch this. Look at this. This is real. This is happening. And then we would discuss it.
Exactly.
If it was on my phone, a news story, I would make them come look at this.
Look at
this is what's happening. Let's be, aware. So that's just part of just being an accountable and active and an informative parent and having that relationship with your children and caring about them, where they are, what they're doing. And not just letting them have free reign and just doing what they want to do when they want to do it without any adult supervision.
Right.
That's a problem.
That is.
Because those are the kids that these traffickers look for.
Exactly.
Right.
And they know those traffickers know whose parents involved, whose parents not involved.
Because they're watching.
They're watching it. And we need to have those conversations with our kids and grandkids about what's going on.
Yeah.
Don't never think that you're too perfect to tell your kids this or you've done so wrong that you can't share these things with them, because a lot of times the things that we share with our kids can be the things that can save our kids.
Exactly. I totally agree. 100%.
So we need to have those conversations with our kids.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And we can't assume that they're learning about safety at school either, because again, we talked about how there aren't any programs that currently exist that talk about prevention and awareness of human and sex trafficking.
Exactly.
And it definitely should be in the schools. Can you share a success story, any success story? And I hope you have some to share, or a case study where intervention successfully prevented trafficking or victims were rescued.
I have a story. I want to say this young lady was like 14 years old. She was a product of sex trafficking.
Okay.
Okay. And she was caught up in the foster care system.
Okay.
She was a runaway.
Okay.
And on her mission of running, she was brought into captivity by a trafficker.
Okay.
And I want to say at that time, this kid may have been 10 years old, but by the time it all manifested itself to where she was free, she was 14 years old.
Oh, my goodness.
She was 14 years old. And it's the mental, the capacitation of their mind.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, their mental.
Yeah.
It's a mental issue. Any little thing triggers them. Any little thing that reminds them of when they were out there, it triggers them. Well, it was this one particular young girl. She said that she was out and about, because when they get ready to move you on, to ship you up out of here, they start to put you out there to see if you could just handle moving around so they can get you out of the way.
Okay.
And this young girl said that she saw a police officer come out of a store.
Okay.
And she saw when he was in regular clothing. He was not in a police uniform.
Okay.
But she saw his badge and his gun.
Okay.
Because he had his arm like this.
Uh-huh.
So she said when he came out of the store, she approached him.
Okay.
In a way to where he took her into the vehicle.
Okay.
That's how she was captured, to put back into the foster.
Okay.
So when she got in the car, she said she went to reach for him. I guess he may have thought she was reaching for his gun or whatever. So he did like this. And she said, I'm not going to do anything wrong. I'm not going to do anything wrong.
Okay.
She said, when you came out of that store, I saw your badge.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
And so to me, that saved that kid's life. And she was one of the kids that, we had to deal with mentally. She was really messed up.
Yeah, I'm
mentally
sure.
messed up.
Yeah.
And it was going to take a lot of rehabilitation. Now, right now, to this day, I really don't know where the kid is. But I pray to God she's safe, wherever she is. She's older now, so she's like 14 then. So she's probably about 19 now.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
To me, that was a success story because I don't know where she is now, but at that time, I knew she had been rescued.
She did what she
she
had the courage.
She was tired.
Yes.
She was tired. And I guess in her head, she know they finna ship me away from here. If they move, I don't know where I'm going.
Yeah.
But if I can just get away, at least I'll still be in familiar territory.
Right. So they ship these kids from
they get them up out of
place to place to place to place to place. They never stay anywhere long.
They move them around.
So when these kids leave their hometown of Houston, they just go who knows where.
Out of state.
Oh, my
out of the
God.
country.
Just gone.
Depends on who get them. Yeah.
Woo! That's tough.
Yeah.
That's tough. What are the long-term solutions for survivors of trafficking? And is there anything we can help to do as the masses at large to help them with recovery and getting them reintegrated back into some type of normalcy? And I know they have to go through counseling and they got to get
psychological and mental evaluations.
Yeah.
That's key.
Yeah.
That's number one, most key. Important. When you get them in, you get them checked out to make sure they're healthy.
Yeah.
And to get whatever they need to get them back on track so that they can start to fend their way back into society.
Right.
But the main thing I think dealing with them would be getting them the mental help that they need. And once you can get that mental help that they need, you need a place of housing.
Right.
We need homes for these young women.
We
need programs for these young women. We need people pulling together to help them get the education that they need, to help them get into society where they can go out and interview for a job, making them feel loved and valued, and just giving that sense of self back to them.
Right.
Teaching them what it means to know self-love, self-worth.
Right.
Because you've been beaten down so much and abused against your own will.
Exactly.
And
having no voice.
Have no voice whatsoever to let you know that, yes, I do have a voice in society.
And I am somebody. Right.
And we just need people that can empower and uplift these people. And I'm not going to say just young women. These young men as well.
Too.
Because you don't hear them talk about the men.
Nope.
You only hear them talk about the women.
And that's why they focus. The focus is really for us, it's on the girls. But that means the traffickers have free reign because they will focus on the boys.
Exactly. While we're focusing on the girls, they're focusing
on the boys.
There you go.
Jeez. Oh my God. Ooh.
Yeah.
My.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. What final thoughts or words do you have? And is there anything that you need to say that we did not cover?
Wow. This is so broad.
It really is. I know.
I think we've basically pretty much touched on the main issues in the concerns.
Prevention and awareness, how we can help.
But I know if there's anybody out there that's interested in getting involved or maybe have the finances or the resources to invest in these type of homes for young women and young men like that, I mean, that would be great. It would be a great thing for the city,
Yeah.
Because if you have things like that and it happened and you want to help save, see what you can do to help get this person out there. If you have somewhere to put them where they feel safe, I think you can win them.
Yeah. So we need more safe houses.
We need more safe
more safe houses.
More safe houses.
So there's a shortage. There's a shortage of
from my knowledge, you don't really hear
much.
You don't really hear much.
Yeah,
unless you just right in the midst of it. And like I said, it's been a few years, but I'm still around kids every day.
Exactly.
And I'm not sure. I don't know. You don't know who you're around. You don't know what these kids bring to the table, but I'm always aware.
Yeah.
I'm always trying to focus in on their kid, pay attention to their kid, pay
Yeah.
attention to their kid's attitude, pay attention to what triggers this kid.
Right.
You know, just to get to know them, because sometimes all they need is that one person that they can trust, that they can talk to.
Yeah, one person
That
can
one
save a
person can
life.
save a life.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
So,
You got to see. Be
right.
aware of your surroundings and watch for behavior changes in these
Exactly.
kids, isolation.
Exactly.
And yeah, if anyone want more information on homes for these children, safe houses, how you can help, you want to be a humanitarian and help out in this area, you guys can send me a message. You can DM me, and we can point you to the right resources, or we can create our own
Your
team
own, yeah.
and start getting these kids off the street. We got to make this a safer place for our children, our boys and our girls. So let's be accountable and let's do something about ending human and sex trafficking. Okay. Thank you so very much.
You're welcome. Thank you,
Tanya
for having
Eagleton
me.
here. We're so glad you
And if
came
I
by.
could say this,
Okay.
Since you said it, it's just so heavy on my heart and in my mind, my thought process.
Okay.
Let's get back to the village.
Yeah.
Because
let's get back to the
it
village.
does take a village to raise a kid.
It does.
It does. We can't do it by ourselves.
Let's get back to the
Let's
village,
get
you
back to the
guys.
village.
Our children will be our future leaders. So we
Right.
got to make sure they're all safe.
Exactly.
All right. Thank you guys so very much, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.